Water is a foundational element for life. Today, water is more valuable than oil. There is no place where this is more evident than the arid region of the Middle East. In the 1960s, the Dead Sea still had enough water flowing into it from the Jordan River to make up for the water that evaporated from the surface each year. But today, there is only 10% of the historic flow from the Jordan River, which means the Dead Sea surface level is decreasing 1 meter per year. Since the late 1950s, regional population growth, increased agribusiness, and prolonged years of drought have dramatically strained the water resources of the Jordan River Valley and the Dead Sea Basin. As the regional population grew, the demand for more potable water resources multiplied. The main source of fresh drinking water in Israel is the mountain aquifers. Today, they are being pumped down to dangerous levels to meet the growing demand for potable water. Today's West Bank population requires 100 million cubic meters per year. Yet normal future growth projections show demand increasing to 250 million cubic meters by 2050. To meet this growing water demand, the wadis that fed the Jordan River were dammed up to capture as much freshwater runoff as possible. This demand for fresh water is literally draining the Dead Sea at a rate of 1 meter of surface water per year. All this means the Dead Sea is dying. The lowering Dead Sea level also destabilizes the surrounding groundwater pressure, causing freshwater aquifers to drain towards the receding Dead Sea. The fresh water dissolves the salts in the underground layers of rock. This forms sinkholes, and the entire area becomes unstable and unusable. Hundreds of large and very dangerous sinkholes have appeared every year, with over 300 sinkholes in 2009 alone. The Dead Sea water levels are a sure indicator of where this regional water crisis is headed. In 1950, the Dead Sea shoreline was at minus 390 meters below sea level. By 2000, it had drained to minus 400. By 2010, it has drained to minus 410. And by 2020, it will be at minus 420. 2030 to minus 430. 2040 by minus 440. And by 2050, it will drain to minus 450. If nothing is done to fix the problem, by 2050, the Dead Sea will literally be a toxic pond of sludge. This is a man-made problem. Is there a man-designed solution to save the Dead Sea, to save this natural treasure? Is there a way to provide new sources of potable water needed to recharge the regional ecosystem? Can there be a green energy solution for sustainable economic growth and development for this arid region? Desalination of seawater is today's scientific solution to provide more freshwater resources. In 2010, Israel has 3 desalination plants online and has 2 more on the drawing boards. There are a number of challenges in this desalination process. Desalination requires large amounts of power and emits a toxic waste of brine comparable to the density of the Dead Sea. Today's desal plants are being built along the Mediterranean seacoast, next to polluting fossil-fueled power plants. How can this desal technology be used to address the water issues that are draining the Dead Sea? Is there a plan that can refill the Dead Sea and provide the potable desal water to meet the present and future demands of the Jordan River Valley? Can such a plan provide a clean energy source to power these desal plants and supplement the electrical demand of the region? The Center for Environmental Diplomacy, called CED, has initiated research to address these serious issues. CED is an international non-governmental organization that are working to realize diplomatic solutions for a clean and sustainable environment. CED, with offices in Washington, D.C., Tokyo, and Ramallah, is committed to finding an environmentally sound plan that is also a win-win for all of the people in the region. CED has studied past and present proposed water and energy projects. Over 2,600 years ago, the prophet Ezekiel made a prediction that the Dead Sea's waters would be healed and teeming with fish from the Great Sea known as the Mediterranean Sea, flowing into the Eastern or Dead Sea. Later, the Romans created the first massive water conveyance aqueducts. Visionaries and politicians have been working on massive waterway projects since the early 1900s as the Panama Canal and Suez Canal projects were conceived and built. The Israeli government spent over $30 million in the late 1970s to design 5 potential routes for what they called the SEAS project. Since then, additional multi-millions have been spent in studies to bring water from the Red Sea through Jordan to the Dead Sea. CED has taken the best of all this research and combined it with breakthroughs in technology used to build the channel under the English Channel and construct a highway tunnel under the Swiss Alps. CED has teamed up with one of the top engineering design consultants in the world, Dr. Chris D. Breeds of Subterra Incorporated, to develop a pre-feasibility study and preliminary project design that not only meets but exceeds the projected water and clean energy demands of the Jordan River, Rift Valley, and the Dead Sea Basin. The result of this research team effort was the September 2009 release of the Med Sea to Dead Sea Water Energy Conduit Pre-Feasibility Study and Project Design Proposal, referred to as MDWEC. This MDWEC project proposes to create a 72-kilometer underground pipeline from offshore of the Mediterranean Sea using the shortest and most direct route to the northern part of the Dead Sea. MDWEC will employ proven state-of-the-art tunnel boring machines known as TBMs to bore this pipeline. The TBMs will simultaneously assemble a steel-reinforced concrete and sealed pipeline under the mountains. This pipeline will be over 800 meters below Jerusalem and still come out 410 meters above the Dead Sea. This gravity-fed MDWEC pipeline provides an endless supply of seawater to a series of fully lined and steel-reinforced regulating reservoirs at or near sea level. The water is then dropped through an underground hydroelectric power plant to a pump storage reservoir and then gently flows through a specially designed spillway into the Dead Sea from its natural North Shore estuary. Additional gravity flow pipelines feed a lined reservoir between Ramallah and Jericho at the top of the Wadi Kelt to supply seawater for desalination and aquaculture for the Palestinians of the West Bank communities. Another gravity flow siphon pipeline from the Zero Reservoir is designed to send water under the Jordan River and back up the East Bank to sea level in Jordan to another lined reservoir to supply seawater for desalination and aquaculture for the Jordanian people. The MDWEC water delivery is a 100% gravity flow system that requires absolutely no pumping. The descent from the zero and regulating reservoirs to the hydroelectric power plant provides all the head pressure needed to drive 8 hydroelectric power generators to create 1,600 megawatts of peak electric green power 8 hours per day. This is 200 megawatts more than what the Hoover Dam is currently generating to power most of the state of Nevada and mega resort city Las Vegas. Today, Jordan's combined fossil-fueled power generation capacity is only 1,500 megawatts. MDWEC will take 10 years to build, thus if started in 2010, MDWEC could have fresh water flowing by 2020. MDWEC will slowly refill the Dead Sea over the next 10 years while generating power and providing Med Sea water for desalination for the West Bank and Jordan needs. The authorization of the MDWEC project will begin decades of growth and prosperity for all of the people of this wilderness region. The initial construction of this 72-kilometer, 9-meter pipe, along with the associated roads, concrete plants, dams, pipelines, reservoirs, construction towns, and desalination plants, will make the Dead Sea region a significant employment draw in the Middle East. Once the infrastructure is complete, the Dead Sea Basin will be famous for its new innovations in seawater aquaculture, ecotourism, seaside and reservoir shoreline resorts, boating and sailing marinas, and much more. The Dead Sea has the potential to become a vacation riviera unrivaled in the Middle East. The dying Dead Sea is a man-made problem. Thankfully, the MedDead Water Energy Conduit is a man-made solution that will provide sustained environmental and economic development of the entire region for decades and centuries to come. For the latest information on MDWEC, go to www.meddead.org.